The gaming industry is going through a major shift. Eastern developers, especially those from China, Japan, and South Korea, are now creating games that are not only beating, but even dominating and earning more respect than those made by Western developers. You've probably seen plenty of posts on Twitter and Instagram saying things like, Japanese developers are on fire, or the same for Chinese and Korean developers. Even Genshin Impact has crossed 6 billion in revenue. Black Myth Wukong became one of the fastest-selling games ever, reaching over 10 million sales in just 3 days and now crossing 25 million. Meanwhile, PUBG's continuous dominance is still generating record-breaking revenue for Krafton. But why is this happening? Why are European, Canadian, and American game developers falling so far behind? Well, there are more than 10 reasons for this, and some of them might surprise you. So make sure to watch this video till the end. Crunch culture has become a very common and problematic part of the gaming industry, where developers are forced to work extreme overtime to meet game deadlines. Even if you look back 5 to 10 years ago, many studios made their developers work 12 to 15 hours a day. The pressure to complete a game was so intense that developers would often sleep at their desks, and this continued for months. As a result, games that should take 2 or 3 years to complete were being rushed. Live service games were also demanding frequent updates, but this constant workload would mentally break people. Because of this, after the development of Uncharted 4, many developers left the studio, and the people who worked on Red Dead Redemption 2 also became completely exhausted. Eventually, Western companies started promoting work-life balance and reducing crunch, but now it takes much longer to make games, and updates come out more slowly. On the other hand, everyone knows that Chinese and Japanese developers are extremely competitive, and even South Korean teams are known for their intense work ethic. This allows them to work longer hours, produce games faster, and release new characters and updates more frequently, keeping players continuously engaged. Yes, they are human too, and this kind of work is definitely stressful and exhausting for them as well. But at least in the short term, they're seeing profits and success. However, in the long run, they might face the same burnout and challenges that Western developers have already gone through. Another big reason is that Western game settings have become extremely predictable and repetitive. These games mostly focus on post-apocalyptic wastelands, medieval fantasy worlds, zombies, sci-fi themes, or modern military scenarios. In contrast, Eastern developers have a huge cultural treasure, thousands of years of mythology and folklore that haven't been fully explored in games yet. For example, Black Myth Wukong brought the famous Chinese novel Journey to the West to life using modern technology and high production values. It became a massive global success because the Chinese architecture and artistic elements offered players a unique cultural experience that Western titles simply can't replicate. Even the newly announced game Wukong the Wayfarer is based on a Korean story that most gamers have probably never seen before. It's not that Western developers can't make games inspired by Eastern mythology, but they often make mistakes due to language and cultural gaps, just like what happened with Assassin's Creed Shadows. And speaking of Western history and culture, there was a time when we truly enjoyed it, but when you keep getting the same kind of content over and over again, it's natural to feel bored. That's why gamers today are more interested in titles based on Eastern mythology. These developers are proudly creating games rooted in their own culture and stories, and that authenticity is what's winning over players worldwide. Eastern developers have mastered the art of character design. They create protagonists and supporting characters that are visually stunning, stylish, and vibrant, instantly catching players' attention. These characters aren't just appealing in terms of appearance. Their backstories and personalities are also deeply engaging. Eastern developers often make their characters feel heroic, mythical, and epic, which makes their storytelling even more captivating. In contrast, Western game characters are becoming more realistic and grounded, which, while believable, can sometimes feel less exciting to many players. Eastern developers are able to create high-quality, AAA-level games at a much lower cost, and these games can easily compete with the expensive projects made by Western studios. For example, Game Science developed Black Myth Wukong with a budget of just $70 million, yet it delivered top-tier graphics and gameplay, selling over 25 million copies and earning more than $1 billion in profit. On the other hand, massive Western titles like Spider-Man 2 had a budget of around $315 million, but managed to sell only about 11 million copies, meaning the profit margin was much lower. The main reason behind this difference is labor cost. Everyone knows that the GDP per capita in the US, Canada, and European countries is significantly higher. For instance, the US average is around $90,000, Japan's is about $35,000, and China's is just around $14,000. This means Chinese developers can produce the same quality of work for nearly 1/5 of the cost, a massive advantage when it comes to production budgets and profitability. There are many advantages to making games with lower budgets, and one of the biggest is the ability to take more creative risks. That's why Eastern developers often adopt a bold and experimental approach when creating new games, while Western studios continue to rely on old, established franchises. If you're spending $200 to $300 million on a single game, it's only natural to invest that money in a project that's guaranteed to make a profit. Because of this, Western companies hesitate to try new ideas, since the risk of loss is too high. In contrast, Eastern studios can produce great games on smaller budgets, which allows them to experiment with innovative gameplay, fresh story ideas, and creative concepts. Western companies, on the other hand, tend to play it safe, releasing the same sequels year after year, whether it's Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, or FIFA. And as a result, players eventually get bored of playing the same thing over and over again. Another major factor is China's strict licensing system. In China, the government only approves a limited number of games each year, and after the 2021-22 freeze, only about 80 to 100 games get the green light annually, while thousands of others remain stuck in the approval queue. This competition is so intense that developers simply can't afford to make mediocre games. That's why they spend a lot of time and effort creating top-tier titles that stand a real chance of being approved. Meanwhile, Western developers face no such restrictions. They can release unlimited games on platforms like Steam, Xbox, or PlayStation. Now, this freedom isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when Chinese games reach the international market, they're already among the best of the best. That's because limited opportunities push developers to focus more and ensure the highest possible quality. Chinese developers have completely revolutionized live service monetization through gacha systems and battle passes. These systems create excitement and anticipation, encouraging players to keep trying again and again. Games like Genshin Impact have proven that by using psychological triggers such as the fear of missing out and smartly designed dopamine rewards, players can be kept continuously engaged. These models rely on randomized rewards and limited time events that build excitement and make players want to stay active. The Eastern approach focuses on building long-term relationships with players based on trust and value. That's why the gacha systems in Eastern games feel fun and exciting, while Western studios' attempts at similar systems often come across as greedy or manipulative, leading to player backlash. In the Eastern model, players feel like they're getting good value for their money, and at the same time, companies enjoy a steady and sustainable source of income. Eastern developers have a huge advantage because of anime culture, which is not just a form of entertainment, but a complete artistic storytelling philosophy that has now become globally popular. Games like the Persona series, Nier Automata, and the Honkai series all use anime-inspired aesthetics that allow players to instantly connect with them. According to one survey, around 90% of anime viewers identify as gamers, making this audience a ready-made market for Eastern developers. Western games often focus on realism, cartoonish art styles, or darker themes, while Eastern developers use vibrant colors and anime influence to create visually striking experiences. Right now, anime trends are dominating pop culture, which is why games with a similar art style are becoming extremely popular. This influence has even pushed some Western studios to create their own anime adaptations, for example, the recent Tomb Raider anime series. Chinese developers have mastered the art of making games with lower budgets, higher output, and incredible discipline. That's why they're able to adapt to new trends so quickly. They study popular gameplay styles and mechanics in detail, and then start developing games based on them in a very short time. But they don't just copy. They always add their own cultural touch to make each game feel unique. On the other hand, Western developers usually take longer to adopt new trends, or prefer to play it safe by sticking to older mechanics, which sometimes makes their games feel repetitive. Chinese studios have perfected this adaptive approach, perhaps a little too perfectly in recent years. For example, there's a game called Ananta. Anyone who has seen its trailer ends up wondering, is it an anime game, something like Spider-Man, or an open-world crime game? Whatever it is, people are loving it. Similarly, after the success of Wukong, several new Souls-like and character action games were announced within a short time. And if a completely new genre becomes popular in the future, you can be sure that Chinese developers will be the first to build a game around it. In Eastern game development, project management is often highly organized and efficient. Clear communication, realistic timelines, and proper planning are given great importance. Before starting a project, developers are required to create detailed plans that include budgets, schedules, and resource allocation. This allows the entire team to know exactly what needs to be done, and they can achieve their goals step by step without constantly changing plans. In contrast, Western studios often face interference from top-level executives and management. Non-technical managers tend to set unrealistic deadlines or introduce major changes during development, which causes confusion and stress within the team. As a result, a lot of energy gets wasted on workplace politics instead of being focused on creativity and productivity. So these were the 10 reasons. Do you agree or disagree with them? Let me know in the comments below. To learn about the upcoming DC Universe games and their future, click on the video on the right. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.